Hi, welcome to my happy place. We are going to start our October template taste and table topper. And since it's October, it has to be Halloween, right? So we are going to work with a Halloween themed table topper. The first thing that we need is our 18-inch square, and we're going to sandwich it with, I'm using a white glow-in-the-dark reveal fabric. White is a good choice. If you don't have glow-in-the-dark, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's going to be just as cute without the glow-in-the-dark. And I have my batting, of course, and my backing fabric. And on the top fabric, I'm using the pumpkin-colored texture wave. And, of course, I've got my TempLee fuse on there. I actually came in and did a cross here in the middle. And that's all you need. It's just that small cross here in the middle, because what we are actually working with on that, and here it is our Circle Works Outer Rim marker. You'll notice that there's a series of numbers on the right, a series of numbers on the left. We are going to use the series of numbers on the left. 16-inch here on the tack. Here's our pen, and we're going to swing it around, and that's going to give us our 16-inch circle. We will be using the Circles and Straights tool later on. I just opt to do the drawing around the 16-inch circle because it's probably going to get sucked in a little bit when we start our project. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make a ghost. Okay, ghosts are synonymous with Halloween. And I am using my 4-inch simple circle right here. Simple circle, 4-inch. And I'm going to lay this kind of towards the top in the upper half. And I am going to stitch, I'm going to turn it this way so you can see better, from this line to this line, which is halfway around that circle. And I'm using glow-in-the-dark thread to boot. Now we can place, we're going to have two ghosts, the larger ghosts and smaller ghosts. You can place these any orientation you want within your 16-inch circle. You know, these table toppers have been more or less artistic endeavors. And so I don't give specific inches, you know, it should be so many inches from the top, so many inches from the side. I want you to use a little artistic license and put them in the areas you feel that you will like them the best, okay? If you want to put a third ghost coming in from the side of the circle, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to go from our halfway line to our halfway mark. I'm just going to go ahead and take that first stitch in place. Remember, when we're doing circles or curves of any kind, we want to shorten up that stitch length a little bit. It's going to give that illusion of being circular just a little bit better than long stitches. Okay, we're back. I'll show you how I'm going to bury this thread in a minute. Let's go ahead and finish up, however, around the upper part of our ghost. And as I was saying before, we need to make sure that we use smaller stitches when we are doing a circle or a curve of any kind. I like it because it makes things look smoother. If you use really large stitches, chances are it's going to look choppy. And we don't want choppy, we want smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and get the key here and take that out. And I'm going to move this over here just a hair. And we're going to bring it in some. There we go. want you to be able to see clearly what I'm doing. Here's my thread tails. I'm going to cut those down a little bit because they do tend to get quite long and unwieldy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread tails and make a simple overhand knot. Okay, let me do that again for you. We're going to come around our 2 fingers, bring the tail up, and we've got a loop there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and insert my needle into the loop. I'm going to draw the loop closed, and where I want that knot to be is approximately between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch off of the surface, which you can see. I hope you can see well. Here is the knot. So now I've got my self-threading needle. I'm going to go ahead and just pop my threads in, and it's quite easy. You just literally pop the threads in. There we go. And there they are. Now I'm going to take my needle and I am going to insert it where the bobbin thread comes up, and I'm going to run it through the batting. What you want to do is get in that batting. Then it's not going to show on the reveal fabric. It's definitely not going to show on the top fabric, and it's not going to show on the bottom fabric. So I've got it. I've got the loop of thread out all the way. Here's the knot. I hope you can see that well. And now I'm just going to give these threads a tug, and the knot disappears, leaving a virtually seamless transition from one bobbin to another. Okay, after you do it a couple of times, it becomes second nature, and it really does become a lot easier to work with. The next template that I'm going to use is our back to back. I'm going to pull you back out. There we go. It is our back to back, and this is the 1.5-1, 1.5 inch -1. You'll see there are 2 sides to this template. One has deeper waves to it. One has more subtle waves to it. We're going to use the more subtle side on our ghosts. And what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to line it up, and I'm going to put it a little bit of an angle because the ghosts usually are a little fatter on their bottoms than they are on their tops. We want to come down approximately 4.5 inches. So if we were to measure where 4.5 inches is, we can measure from this line down 4.5 inches. And what I can do is I can put one of my arrows on there to remind myself to stop when I get to 4.5 inches, which is going to be right about there. Is this written in stone? No, it is not. It is just a suggestion. If you want a shorter, plumpier ghost, go for it. It's okay. This is your project. You should make it the way you want. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my 1 stitch in place. Now we're still working on curves. This is not a circle, but it is still a curve. So you'll still want to use a little shorter stitch length. And I'm going to come down until I hit that arrow. Or move it out of the way, whichever happens first, right? Okay, I can go ahead and take that off now. because I want to use it on the other side. I just stick them up on my sewing machine. And what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to line this up over here. Again, I am going to measure to about 4.5, 4.25 to 4.5. They do not have to be equal or even in any way, shape, or form. Actually, I think that being off a little bit will give it a little more character. So, what I need to do is go ahead and we're going to end this. I hate when we have to change thread or end one thing or another. So when I do stitch, I try the best I can to keep everything going in one direction so that we don't have to break thread as often. Okay, so here we go. I've got my thread put in at the very bottom of my half circle on the left side of the ghost. And again, now this one, I don't want it to match this side exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to change it in some way. Either start out here and come down. If I start here, it's going to be just the same exact path. If I flip my template over and start here, it's going to be almost a mirrored image. So I think I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and flip my template over, and I'm going to start up a little way. We won't get a mirror image because that would be just kind of boring. So here we go. Take that one stitch in place. I'm going to keep it fairly small. We may want to go down now a little further than the arrow that we put on, simply because we moved the top up by, about 1.5 inches. I'm only going to have this go up a little more than 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my little flag on there. We're not going to cut thread, okay? We are going to now close this down the center here, okay? So when we close that, we will have our entire ghost. And there we go. Kind of a goofy shape, isn't it? But that's okay. Ghosts really don't have any shapes, do they? Whatever way the wind is blowing is how they're going to look. Okay, so the next thing we need to do with these guys is we need to put on some eyeballs and a smile. These are not going to be scary ghosts. These are going to be friendly ghosts. So the first template that I'm going to use to do that is the simple oval 1x2. Again, I'm not making any particular marks. I am going to go from the center horizontally to the center horizontally, only stitching a half oval. And I'm going to stitch one here and one here, approximately, okay? And we're going to rotate the template and bring it behind us, okay? We're not going to go like this. We're going to have the template behind the needle. I'm going to take my spacing gauge. Oh, is that perfect? And now I'm going to stitch over to the start point to approximately a 1/4 inch. I say make it a little larger. We can adjust it if we need to. And here again, I'm doing it this way so we do not have to break thread. Okay, I know that some of you are out there, and when you see this one, you go, oh, it's a simple circle 1/2 inch, okay? Don't worry, it's not that difficult. We're only going to use a little bit of it, 1/4 of it actually, to be precise. And this is going to make our ghost's eyeballs. Because ghosts do have to have eyeballs. How else do they see, right? Okay, let's get the tape off. This is really sticky tape. I gotta tell you, I like it because it doesn't let go, but man alive, when you want it to let go, you gotta work at it. Okay, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up halfway and halfway so that if we were to draw an imaginary line straight down and straight across, it would end right here. And all we're going to do now is stitch in a 1/4 circle. You can make it bigger if you wish, and to make it bigger, what you're going to do is you're going to move your template up and towards the outside. So let me show you what that's going to look like. And we're just going to do another 1/4 circle. There we go. And now we're going to cut thread. So we have our ghost and we have our ghost eyes. Kind of fun, huh? Okay, so we're going to come back now to our 1 by 2 oval. I'm going to sew halfway to halfway. What I'm making with this is the ghost's smile, because we all know ghosts are happy. So I'm just arbitrarily picking 2 points. You could come down and have it go all the way up if you want. It is your project. You make it any way you want. So here we go. There. Now what I want to do is I want to echo that fairly close, maybe 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to bring this down. And then I am going to move the template over using my spacing gauge. I'm going to make sure that it comes in exactly where it needs to join this half of the smile. And there is our ghost. I have a lot of burying to do. Otherwise, we have our little ghost. Isn't he cute? Love him. Okay, we have our second ghost in, and now we're going to write a word. Yes, and not even do it free motion. The 3 templates that we are going to use are the, well, okay, I can find 2 of them. The simple ovals, 1.5 by 3, and the simple ovals, 1 by 2, and the third one we can use, there it is. The third one will be our 12-inch arc. Okay, this is really easy. What we're going to do is we're going to take the larger simple circle, or the simple oval, I'm sorry. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in horizontal orientation. Can be this way horizontally, this way, whatever angle you want your word to point to, okay? I'm going to go on an angle, and so I'm going to start right there. Actually, no, I'm going to go up just a little bit, I think. I want to give it a little more room. There we go. I'm going to come on up here. What we want to make sure is that we have enough room for two of these, one stacked on top of the other. And I see I'm going to have that without any problem. So we're going to go ahead and pull that bobbin thread up. There we go. Going to put my foot down, put my needle back down where it started. Okay, so now I'm going to go from the halfway mark to the halfway mark on here. Start off with one stitch in place, and again, this is a curve. So what you're going to want is you're going to want it to have a smaller stitch length. And when we get to the other line, this is the other half, what we're going to do is simply, we're just going to move our template down, because we want these two half ovals to touch. And again, right there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take this out. I'm going to use my 12-inch arc. Before I do, though, I want to get an idea of where I need to be. Okay, so I need to be up here, about 4 stitches or so. So I'm going to take my arc out. And what I'm going to do then is I am going to stitch up just a couple stitches. I'm going to put this one in, see if I'm close. I'm getting there. I may need to go 1.5 more. There we go. What I'm looking at is this halfway mark here and this halfway mark here. Okay, keeping those adjusted correctly. We're going to go ahead, and we do need to put our gate back in. I'm so klutzy when it comes to these, so I really appreciate the new templates coming with needle channels instead of gates. Okay, there we go. So now I am going to simply quote start and finish right there. We want to make sure that we have our needle in the down position. And I'm going to go ahead and take this off for the time being. I'm going to make sure that I've got my spacing correct. I want that exactly 1/4 inch. There we go. And let's check that. Oh goodness, that's perfect. Okay. And put our gate back in. I think I just dropped something. Yeah, I definitely dropped something. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put the smaller oval inside of the larger one, and we're going to stitch around. Remember to make those stitches on a little on the shorter side. Okay, I want to make sure that I've got myself lined up there. That looks really good. And so, can you kind of get a guess as to what the word's going to be? It shouldn't be too hard to figure out, right? Okay, so I'm just going to make my 1/4 inch. Oh goodness, that turned out perfect. I'm going to go up to the top, connect those 2 lines of stitching, and now I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom. And I am going to double check. Yep, got it. Okay. So now that I've got the first line of stitching in there, I am going to put the second line of stitching in, and that's going to finish off our first letter. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn the template. I'm going to go, about 1/4 inch. Hold it on. Hold the template on the previous lines of stitching for your 1/4 inch. And if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. And if it looks like it's a little too short, which I think it is, I'm going to go ahead and put another one at 1/8 inch, or at another 1/4 inch, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line those up, come back out, put my template back down. There we go. I think this is going to look a lot better. It's going to be more in sync with the rest of the letter. And there we go. Okay. And there is our B. What do you think? Now you know what word we're looking for, don't you? And it's really very simple. Okay, Okay, I'm back. We're going to use the simple oval 1x2 and the simple oval 1.5x3 next. So what I'm going to do, we're going to do one inside of the other, and this is definitely not difficult to do. It is a very simple process. I'm going to go ahead and bring my threads all to the top. Okay, we're going to get that there. Perfect. Now I'm going to stitch the whole oval. Doesn't matter which way you go, to the left or to the right, it's fine. But because it is an oval, I do like to keep my stitches on the shorter side. Remember to take your time. Enjoy the journey. It's not a race. This is something that's meant to be relaxing and fun. And this one just goes right inside. It is easy to line this up because these sides touch the sides of the first one. The top and the bottom do not touch, but the sides do. So that is a good reference to making sure that you're lined up properly. So I'm going to go ahead. I think this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring my threads up at the bottom. And the reason that I'm doing that is simply to make it easier when I go to bury them, rather than having all the threads in one place. Hold those threads back, put my needle back down, and take that one first stitch in place, Remember, we're doing an oval, which is a curve, so we want to keep nice and short on those stitches. Now, some people say, oh, I have a hard time adjusting my stitch length because you get accustomed to one way, and that's true. All you have to do to get a shorter stitch length is speed your machine up a little bit or slow your hands down a little bit. Either way will work. And the more you practice and work with your templates, the easier these things are going to become, okay? You will get accustomed to it, to adjusting stitch length, speed of your machine, speed of your hands. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that out. And there is our first O. We are going to repeat the process. And we're going to make another O here.